What I want from Bob Roll is a little righteous indignation once in a while, even more so than he gave at the end of stage 1. Stand up and tell the truth, Bob. Hey everybody, today's the 4th of July, so there's a picnic in the backyard, so you might hear some noise. I'm going to take a couple minutes to just come out front and talk to you about stage 4 of the Tour de France. Again, like I stated in an earlier video, this is not really a cycling channel, and be forewarned, this is going to be a little bit of a rant. Now at the end of stage 4, if you're watching this, you probably know that Cavendish tried to stuff 5 pounds of shit into a 3-pound bag and end up eating it into the barrier. Went down hard, whatever, it happens, right? And of course, after he was already falling, Sagan tried to recover or push off of him or whatever with his elbow, and within an hour, the UCI and the organizers of the Tour de France decided to disqualify Sagan and send him home. It's a complete outrage. First off, Cavendish is a crybaby. All through his career, he's cried after every little incident. All right, I personally don't have any respect for the guy. I've even seen his girlfriend and the mother of his child come out in past years and cry about stuff and complain for him. And it's completely outrageous. We know sprinting, if you're into the sport at all, is highly dangerous. There's always a lot of rubbing, bouncing, elbows, leaning on each other. It just happens, okay? And, you know, I think the last Olympics, Cavendish fell into a guy, so for Cav to complain about what happened with Sagan today is completely outrageous, okay? And Sagan arguably is the most popular rider in the peloton today. To get rid of him, that's the only reason a lot of people are even still watching the Tour de France. Now here at the Cone House, we don't watch team sports, okay? There's no ball sports. My kids, we don't watch baseball, we don't watch football. I couldn't tell you, who won the Stanley Cup. I couldn't tell you who won the last World Series. We have DirecTV, all that stuff's blocked. When you're driving through the channels, you never see it. So it's all cycling as far as sports entertainment goes. So for us, it's a big deal come July. I mean, we watch the one-day classics and other bicycle racing that we have access to on the television, but there's definitely a special spot in our hearts for the Tour de France. I mean, it's like the one thing as far as watching TV that we all do together. I mean, it's so important to us. That said, I'm done watching it for the year. Like, I don't care. Like, all I do is sit around and hope that Chris Froome crashes out. Like, and I'll tell you something else. Like, Valverde went into the barriers on the first day there and, broke his kneecap. And it was pretty sad, right? And Bob Roll got all upset and was like, oh, they should have better protection for the riders, etc., etc. And all of that's true, but I'll tell you something else that really upsets me. And it has been upsetting me for the last several years, and it also is always in my mind, and why it's easy now just to be like, forget it, I don't even care about the Tour de France, I'm not going to watch it anymore. In the prologue, or the first, I guess it wasn't a prologue since it was 8 miles, right? Sky has 4 guys in the top 10. Doesn't that raise a red flag to anybody? Right? Did we know another team that was so dominant? Right? And they all ended up being on drugs, right? They had the best drugs in the peloton for years, right? U.S. Postal. And Frankie Andreo, who used to, ride for Postal, knew all about it. Him and his wife were both instrumental in bringing Lance down. He was a commentator for Versus, Outdoor Life, as it was known prior to that, and now I think it's called USN Sports Network. Also, Christian Vandervelde, he rode for Postal. He knows what the drugs were all about with Lance. Bob Roll was credited with bringing Lance back into the sport after hanging out in Asheville for a week and convincing him to go back to the Pro Peloton after his cancer scare. Bob Roll probably knew, Paul Sherwin and Phil Liggett. They know all about Lance's drugs, and they all ignored it. And none of them say anything now when Sky has 4 guys in the top 10 on the first day, right? Why is Sky so dominant? For the same reason U.S. Postal used to be so dominant. They have the best doctors and the best drugs. I mean, it's a farce. And then on top of all that, like, you know, the organizers and the UCI, they don't seem to care, right? Because they have a great champion in Froome, right? Whatever. It's for ratings, it's for money, you know? But like Cavendish goes and cries because he couldn't pass on the right. We're supposed to all ride in this straight line. Come on, dude. Cavendish, pull up videos on YouTube. There's never been a sprint finish where all the guys go perfectly straight in a drag race. Okay, it doesn't happen like that. People are running people over to the left or the right, making them go the long way around. It's like that in any kind of sporting event, right? I'm fat now, but I used to run cross country. You know what happens out in the woods in a cross country race? There's elbows, there's pushing, there's shoving. My older son runs cross country now. You know, people come back with like spike injuries to their legs and stuff, and there's pushing and shoving. It goes on all the time. My brother-in-law used to race super sport bikes, and there's all kinds of like leaning on and rubbing and crashing and trading paint, okay? Brother-in-law happens to also work for NASCAR now, for a big NASCAR team. Yeah, you ever watch a NASCAR race? There's all kinds of bumping and whatever. Nobody's like, oh, all right? Cavendish is a girly man, okay? Have no respect for that guy. The comments that I see, like, online, you know, everybody's upset, okay? So, I don't like to swear. I do like to swear in real life, but on camera, I don't like to swear, but I'm going to say, like, F the Tour de France. Like I said, I'm done watching it. Screw those guys, you know? It's ridiculous. You took away the one good thing people cared about, all right? And all for somebody who's, oh my God, I don't even have the words to describe how I feel about Cavendish, you know, or his team management. They go running over there like a bunch of tattletales. That's what grown men do, right? When Cavendish cuts people off, nobody goes and cries. It's a real shame. I guess pretty much summer's over now. So much for the joy of July. If I was Sagan's team, I'd stop racing. I mean, tomorrow I'd pull everybody out. All the other sprinters, they should negate the race tomorrow. They should either not ride, or they should stop like at the 1K from the finish and just not finish. You know what? It's completely ridiculous. You guys ought to stand together for like what's right in cycling and for the sport, instead of letting this nonsense go on. And somebody ought to rat out Team Sky, because I'm sure people know they're on drugs. Can't wait for 10 years from now for that to come out. Bunch of asterisks in the record books again. The best part is, I guess his shoulder is all jacked up. Cavendish I'm speaking of. I'm so glad he's not going to be able to win any races either. What a, oh jeez. What I want to know is, when are the English-speaking commentators going to start telling us what it's really all about? You know, quit worrying about their jobs and their ratings. Start telling the truth.